After my C-section, I could barely walk, but my mother-in-law stormed in yelling, "This room's for family, not useless girls who can't even push a baby out." My husband just sat there, looking at his phone. When I asked him to say something, he whispered, "She's right." They took the baby out of my arms while I cried. But when the hospital staff got involved, what happened next shocked everyone. I had a C-section at Lehigh Valley Hospital in Allentown, Pennsylvania, after being in labor for over 18 hours. It wasn't how I pictured it. I had taken the birthing classes, read the books, tried the breathing techniques. But things went sideways fast. My blood pressure shot up dangerously, and the baby's heart rate dropped. The doctor came in and said, "We're going to the OR now." There was no time to argue. I remember the cold of the operating room, the bright lights, the tugging and pressure. And then I heard my daughters cry. I cried too. It was the most broken and whole I had ever felt at the same time. They stitched me up and wheeled me into recovery. My body felt like it belonged to someone else, numb, weak, cut open, but I was holding my daughter. That made everything bearable. I remember looking down at her and whispering, "I'm going to protect you." I meant it. Then the door opened hard, like someone kicked it. It was Brenda, my mother-in-law. Her voice cut through the room before she was even fully inside. "Where's she?" she snapped. "Where's the baby?" Mike followed behind her, not even looking up from his phone. I thought maybe he'd say something, gently tell her to lower her voice or be respectful. He didn't. He barely acknowledged me at all. Brenda stood at the foot of my hospital bed, arms crossed, eyes scanning me like I was something she'd scrape off her shoe. "This room's for family," she said, loud and bitter. "Not useless girls who can't even push a baby out." I froze. I couldn't believe she said that. I couldn't believe she was saying that now, when I could barely even feel my own legs. I turned to Mike. "Are you going to say something?" I asked him. I needed him to stand up for me, to say I wasn't useless, that this surgery saved our child's life. He didn't even look at me. "She's right," he said quietly, without lifting his head from his screen. That broke something in me. I held our baby tighter. That was the only thing I could do, because my arms were still trembling from the anesthesia. I was crying and begging them to stop. Brenda walked right up to my bed and tried to take the baby out of my arms. "She's my granddaughter," she said, like that gave her the right to just rip her from me. I tried to hold on, but I was weak. She pulled my daughter out of my arms like I was nothing, like I didn't just go through major surgery, like I wasn't her mother. The nurse, bless her, stepped in and said, "That's not okay. You need to let her rest." Mike waved her off. "It's fine. My mom's just helping." Helping? I was sobbing now. Full-on, chest-racking sobs. I felt humiliated, powerless. That was my daughter, my child. And they were treating me like a surrogate they could ignore once the baby arrived. The nurse looked at me. I think she saw something in my eyes because she didn't say anything else. She just left the room quietly. A few minutes passed. Brenda sat down in the chair with my baby and started taking selfies with her. Mike finally looked up from his phone to scroll through the pictures she was sending him. I just lay there, crying, bleeding, in pain. Then the door opened again. This time it was the head nurse and 2 hospital security guards. And what happened after that? Let's just say no one expected it. The head nurse didn't even raise her voice. She walked in with the kind of calm that makes people nervous. "Ma'am," she said to Brenda, "I need you to hand the baby back to her mother. Right now." Brenda clutched the baby tighter. "Excuse me? I'm the grandmother. My son said it was fine." The nurse didn't flinch. She turned to the security guards behind her. "This is a patient recovering from surgery. She's under our care, and this is her child. If the baby isn't returned immediately, we will escalate this as a legal matter." Mike finally stood up. "You're overreacting." She just wanted to hold her granddaughter. She took the baby out of a recovering mother's arms. The nurse snapped. "Against her will. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a serious violation of patient rights." Brenda looked at Mike. "Are you really going to let them treat me like this?" He looked torn for a second, but then shrugged. Whatever. Just give her the baby, and let's go. That shrug, it felt like the final nail. Brenda reluctantly handed my daughter back. The nurse stepped in between us and held the baby until my arms were steady enough. I was shaking, but not from the drugs anymore. This was rage. Pure, cold, helpless rage. The nurse stayed with me, gently adjusting my pillows, checking my vitals, speaking low and calm. "You're not alone," she whispered. "We've documented everything." Brenda and Mike were told to leave. The guards stood there until they did. Brenda stormed out like a child denied candy. Mike didn't even say goodbye. A few hours later, a social worker came by. The hospital had flagged the incident. They asked me if I felt safe, if I needed somewhere to go. That hit me hard. I had just given birth, and already they were asking if I needed to escape. I told them I didn't know. I was still processing what had happened. Over the next 2 days, Mike barely visited. He sent a few texts, nothing emotional. Just updates like, heading to work, or my mom's asking how the baby's doing. Not once did he say, "I'm sorry." When I was finally discharged, I didn't go home. I went to my sister's house in Bethlehem. She came to pick me up. Mike didn't even argue, just said, "Let me know when I can see her." I had a newborn in my arms, stitches in my stomach, and a broken heart. Over the next few weeks, things got worse. Brenda started posting pictures of my baby all over Facebook with captions like, "3 generations of strong women," and "My son gave me the most beautiful gift." I wasn't tagged. I wasn't even mentioned. Mike defended her every time. "She's just excited. Don't be so dramatic." He visited once a week, if that. Always for short periods. Always with a sigh. He never brought groceries, never asked how I was healing. He never once stayed up to help with night feedings. But Brenda? She had time. She started messaging me constantly, asking when she could take the baby for a few days. "A few days? You couldn't even let me hold her in the hospital," I texted back. "You think I'm handing her off to you now?" She replied, "You're unstable. You need rest. This isn't about you anymore." That's when I realized they were trying to make a case against me. To paint me as emotionally unfit. To take her from me. And that's when I knew. This wasn't over. They started a war. 2 weeks after I moved in with my sister, I got served. It was a petition. Brenda and Mike were filing for temporary custody of my daughter. Their claim? I was suffering from postpartum depression, was unfit, and had refused to allow the baby's father and grandmother access. I sat on the floor and stared at the papers. My sister read over them twice, then just said, "This is war." They had money. Brenda was retired but well off. Mike still had access to our joint accounts, and I was locked out. He drained the savings a week before I gave birth, claiming it was to prepare for the baby. I hadn't seen a single receipt. I called my OB and the hospital immediately. The head nurse remembered me. They faxed over the incident report. It was all there: Brenda's outburst, the unauthorized contact, Mike's refusal to intervene, the involvement of hospital security, and the social worker's follow-up. My lawyer, an old friend of my sister's, nearly dropped her phone when she read it. "This isn't a custody issue," she said. "This is a case of maternal interference. They took a child out of your arms while you were medically incapacitated. We filed an emergency response, not only to block their petition but to start our own." What I didn't know, and what my lawyer quickly uncovered, was that Brenda had tried this before, with Mike's ex-girlfriend. She had a record of filing for emergency custody of a child that wasn't hers. That case had been sealed, but not before it was noted that she displayed controlling behavior and attempted to isolate the mother from care. Mike had gone along with it then too. That child wasn't his, and Brenda's case was thrown out. But the pattern was clear. I was just the next target. A court hearing was scheduled. Mike texted me the night before. "You're making this ugly. We could have shared her." I didn't reply. In court, Brenda wore pearls and a fake smile. Mike looked bored, like he had someplace better to be. My lawyer went through the hospital report line by line. Then she presented the kicker, a video recording. Apparently, the hospital had security footage. And it showed Brenda yanking the baby from my arms, Mike doing nothing, me sobbing and paralyzed in the bed. The judge's tone changed instantly. "I'm concerned by what I'm seeing here," she said. "This is not a custody dispute. This is intimidation and coercion directed at a vulnerable patient. And that's abuse." Brenda tried to speak. The judge shut her down. "Do not speak unless addressed." Our emergency petition was granted. Mike's access was suspended temporarily. Brenda was hit with a no-contact order. But that wasn't enough for me. Because they hadn't just tried to take my daughter, they tried to destroy me. And I was going to make sure everyone saw them for what they really were. I could have stopped there. I had full custody, Mike was out of the picture, and Brenda was legally barred from coming near my daughter. But I couldn't shake what they tried to do. Not just the custody, they wanted to erase me. They wanted to make me seem unstable, weak, replaceable. I wanted everyone to see them for what they were. First, I filed for full divorce and sole legal and physical custody. Mike didn't fight it. Maybe he thought he'd bide his time and come back later. He was wrong. Next, my lawyer and I went after him financially. Turns out, when he drained our savings, he did it under my name. He used my debit card, my social security number. We filed for financial fraud. My bank backed me, especially once they saw he used the money to fund a brand new nursery set up at Brenda's house. Fraud charges hit him hard. His employer, he worked for a regional insurance firm, put him on leave pending investigation. Then they fired him quietly. No evidence. Brenda tried to appeal the no-contact order. The judge reviewed the same footage again, denied, and added 6 months. But my revenge wasn't loud. It was slow, steady, and legal. I filed for supervised visitation only. Mike showed up to 2 out of the first 6 visits. Late. On his phone the whole time. The supervisor filed multiple negative reports. I let the system build the case for me. 6 months later, he stopped trying altogether. Now, my daughter's last name is legally changed. Back to my maiden name. Her birth certificate was updated, removing Mike as the father. That wasn't easy. It took over a year of documentation, affidavits, and a family court judge who had to sign off personally. But I got it done. I also filed a formal complaint against the lawyer who helped Brenda with a custody petition. Turns out, he overlooked a clear conflict of interest. He used to represent Mike's ex, the same woman Brenda tried to bully years ago. His license is currently under review. As for Brenda, she went online after the court hearing and started posting hateful messages. She called me a liar, said I manipulated the system. She even implied that I had faked the C-section for sympathy. That's when I released the footage. I uploaded a carefully edited clip of her ripping my daughter from my arms, overlaid with hospital records and quotes from the court decision. No commentary. Just the truth. It went viral in a local mom group, then spread further. She deleted all her accounts within 48 hours. Now, I live in a quiet rental in Reading with my daughter. She's walking now, babbling, reaching for me every morning like I'm her whole world. Because I am. Some nights I still think about that moment. Me in the hospital bed, crying, powerless, humiliated. And how far I've come from it. I didn't just survive them. I outlived every lie they told. And I made sure they'll never forget the woman they called useless. Because I'm the one who won.